In Genesis 1:2, when it says the earth was without form and void, does that mean the earth has always been here, but it wasn't completed? And 3, when did God create time according to Genesis?
So, just really quick about Genesis 1, chapter 2, or chapter 1, verse 2. This is something that I've definitely thought of myself. I teach this to, children at church, creation. And this has always been a little bit interesting to me. And I almost want to say to answer ver, question 3 about, when did time start? In Genesis 1, it says, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. And that is the most basic thing, as far as the beginning of our time that, um, of this world, you know, I mean, has God always existed? Yes, God is eternal. So God, never invented time because was always in existence. But as far as time with us, it was, Genesis 1:1 in the beginning. And was the world here? I mean, it seems like there was something here. Um, I don't
The
exactly know.
waters,
Yeah,
whatever
exactly.
that meant.
Exactly, like a big ball of water. I'm not exactly sure if there was, dirt, sediment, material within the water. We're not exactly sure, but there was some sort of water, yes, here. Like it says in verse 2, the earth was without form and void, and darkness was on the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the face of the waters. And so, um, people say, well, how was it, void, and without form, but darkness was on the face of the deep? So it was like, what I imagine is it's like a big empty ball of water in essence. And, it didn't really have, like it's saying, a form. It was just kind of there and just kind of rough. It says in
And,
darkness, just like, a dark, deep ocean that you can't see anything. Um,
and I
and
think we
so,
should be clear when we're talking about Earth, we're not talking about planet Earth, because that's how we modern Americans think, with our technology and science. But when the Hebrew is using the word that we translate Earth, it's the word eretz, and it could mean more like the ground, the land. So if the whole world was watery at the time, there's no land, there's no ground, it's unformed. I think that's kind of what it's getting at. It's water. And the
Mhm.
water there especially has great significance because it's sort of symbolizing chaos. It is the opposite of creation. It is uncreation.
Exactly. And then, God stepping in, obviously the first thing he creates is light. He said, let there be light. And so, it's, which in essence is kind of interesting because, obviously God is light, he is light, but he brought light to this world, as the first thing. And I almost think he did that before the sun, moon, and stars on day 4, just to show that, he is light. He is the giver of light, not the sun, moon, and stars. God is the truth. He's the light. And obviously with light comes all the color and, making the world something beautiful and vibrant. And that's what, God wanted to do. He wanted to make something, an environment that was, beautiful, happy, healthy, for his people. And you can only do that when there's light. And so it's almost like, I don't want to say this world was just like an empty, ball of water that was just like in the corner of the universe, but in essence, like that's kind of the idea I get when I read Genesis chapter 1. And then God stepping in and saying light, and then, the firmament, air, and, the sky and clouds. And then, day 3, dry land, and day 4, sun, moon, and stars, day 5, fish and birds to fill the trees and the water. And then day 6 is, the animals and Adam and Eve. And the 7th day he rested. So,
And
I
then,
mean,
yeah,
that,
going back to time,
mhm.
even physicists don't agree on what time is and does time even exist as a fundamental concept. What I
Mhm.
mean by that is, uh, like for us, would we exist if there was no such thing as an inch and a foot? Wouldn't we still have dimension even if we didn't have a way of measuring distance? And it's sort of same thing, like time, like our concept of seconds and days and all that is an artificial construct we have to, we created this dimension for allowing time for movement to occur, but it perhaps would just, it's a natural consequence of even just creating space and allowing things to move in space, and thus there is going to be a dimension of time, and it's not necessarily a separate thing that God would have created,
Mm.
if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
It's so interesting. Somebody was talking about how it's time, space, and matter. Like, that's what existence is time, space, and matter. And all those three are just, blow our minds, because how do those come into existence? You can only ask a self-existent and holy God. So, and Robert, you have another comment below this, or question that I think helps.
Yep. It says, also about my question about the day of creation, was the ocean created before the sun? I read that God was hovering over the waters in the void earth.
Yeah, so it looks like from the Bible that the waters were already here. The water was already here, because you never hear God say, "Let there be water." He only says, "Let there be dry land" on day 3, and let us separate the water from the dry land. And then he makes all the vegetation and food on day 3.
In Genesis 1:1 is, in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth. It intentionally does not say God created the waters that day.
Which is kind of interesting, because when you look also in the Bible, and you look at water, it's almost like life, like the living water. Like look at Revelation chapter 22, it says, let anybody come and drink of the water of life freely. It's like God's just self-existent, because he in essence is water, like his spirit is water, like he is life.
But it's also interesting that water also means death and deconstruction. So you also read the Bible, there's a lot of examples of water, like Jonah, for example, being associated with death itself, and this concept of going down to the abyss, going down into the grave. So so it means both life and death, interestingly.
Which is also interesting, because when you look at the laws of thermodynamics, it says matter can neither be created nor destroyed. But God is the only true creator, and he's the only one who can truly destroy, which is, why Jesus says, don't be afraid of him who can, destroy your body, but just fear him who can destroy both body and soul in hell, which obviously only God has that ability to fully and completely destroy. And God is the only one who has fully that ability to create. So,
it's like a hard drive. You could destroy a hard drive, and then God will say, well, as long as I had the cloud backup, you can never wipe out that data. Maybe so. Yeah. God could always bring us back if he wanted.